Hello everybody and welcome to another live research session, this time for the fight between Ben Askren and Demian Maia, which takes place this weekend at UFC Singapore. Now first of all, I want to kick off this video by saying that I'm really sorry that I haven't put out many videos lately. We're in the middle of a crazy run in MMA. We've had back-to-back UFC events every single weekend now since the end of August, and Bellator are also hitting us with an insane amount of events. So I am deep in the trenches at the moment, absolutely flooded in fights to research, and I just don't have enough time to bring you videos at the moment. This weekend is in the top 3 busiest weekends of the year for MMA because we have, of course, got Bellator 231 on Friday night. Frank Maia against Roy Nelson. We already have all the odds out for this card, and I am looking forward to jumping into these fights and researching all of these fights. Then, of course, Saturday we have UFC Singapore, Maia versus Askren, and then Saturday night we also have another Bellator event, Bellator 232, Rory McDonald versus Douglas Lima. So I'm not going to be able to put out much content for you this week. Not going to be able to put out much videos because I am, like I say, deep in the trenches researching all these Bellator and UFC fights. But I can assure you, if you're a member of my website, I will be researching every single one of these fights, and if I find any bets, as ever, I will post them to my site, and I will also send you an email to let you know. So just because you don't see me posting much content on YouTube or Twitch at the moment, it is definitely not because I'm slacking. It is just because, I mean, this is an enormous amount of fights we've got this week. I mean, well over 20 fights to research. It's absolutely massive. So rather than putting time into putting out videos and streams, my time is much better spent digging into these fights, researching them, and trying to find decent value bets and strong positions for us to put our money, because at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. That's why we're all here, to make money, and this is, of course, my bread and butter. So today I thought, you know, if I can't do that many videos or live streams for you this week, the next best thing I can do is putting out a video which goes deep into the main event of UFC Singapore, which is probably the fight that the majority of you are most interested in this weekend. I mean, I know Bellator are putting on an absolute banger on Saturday night with Douglas Lima against Rory McDonald, probably the best fight of the weekend if we're being real, and Frank Maia versus Roy Nelson could be a bit of fun as well. But you know, the majority of you are going to be deep into the UFC, so at least if I can't bring you many videos this week, I'm bringing you an in-depth, juicy video on the one fight that you really care about. So in this video, we will be taking a deep dive into Ben Askren versus Demian Maia. Previously, in the last couple of hours, I've been going back and watching Demian Maia's past fights. So throughout this video, I will refer to things that I've seen in my research while watching Maia's past fights, and it was a grind. I am not going to lie to you boys, it wasn't the most fun experience because Maia is a bit of a decisionator. His fights aren't the most exciting, and I can tell you it was an absolute grind to get through his matchups. It was an absolute grind, but as ever, every fight presents a new opportunity to make money. And remember guys, if you have a question throughout this video, please do not hesitate to drop it in the live chat on Twitch, and I will get to it as the video goes. And also, if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and also subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let us get into the research on this fight. Now, this is an interesting fight for me. What I would say is that before we go into researching this fight, I won't bet Demian Maia. The reason why I won't bet Demian Maia is because I am always looking for positions to put my money in, like strong positions to put my money. And generally speaking, you're never going to be putting your money in a strong position when you bet on a 41-year-old. Unfortunately, that's just a fact of life, right? Father time catches up with everyone. There's not many fighters in their late 30s and into their 40s competing at the highest level of the sport for a reason. You are not putting your money in a strong position this weekend if you're betting on Demian Maia or any other 41-year-old. But stylistically, this could be a very good matchup for Ben Askren. So I guess the question I'm trying to answer in this video for me is Ben Askren worth a bet? Now, I know he's no spring chicken either at 35 years old, but hasn't really taken much damage in his career, although he's more than made up for it in the Robbie Lawler and Jorge Masvidal fight with the amount of damage he's taken against those boys. But for the most part, hasn't really taken too much damage, so doesn't have too many miles on the clock. But the real question I'm looking to answer in this video is, is Ben Askren worth a bet here? So let me just run through the questions before we get into this breakdown. Any questions we got on Twitch? Let us see. Shawnee B619 has said Maia wins, but I wouldn't bet him. 5 Cotto or Scotto has said, I'm a member with you. Do you give picks for Bellator as well as UFC? I can't see it on your website. Yes, Scotto, thank you very much for being a member, dude. I really appreciate it. Yes, so basically I research every single Bellator, every single UFC event without fail, and I research as many PFL, KSW, Cage Warrior events as possible. If I do find any bets for Bellator, as ever, you'll receive an email notification, and they will also appear on this page. So when you come to the home page, go to betting tips, and you will find them in this row here, where it says latest betting tips. And of course, if you're familiar with the website, you can find this row throughout the website on different pages. Throughout the site, I think it's on the home page as well. If we go back and take a quick look, you can also see it here. So haven't found any bets for Bellator yet, haven't started researching Bellator yet, but yes, you do get access to Bellator bets when I have them. Tasmanian 187 has said, I started watching a Maia fight and woke up the next day. Yes, mate. It was not the most exciting last couple of hours I've had going back and watching Maia's fights. Cool. Nice one, everybody. Right, let us get into this fight then. Ben Askren against Demian Maia. So, this is an interesting one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically share with you my thoughts after researching Maia's past fights, so that when we're looking at Askren's footage together, you kind of know where I'm coming from and kind of understand what kind of things I'm looking out for, right? So I'm going to brain dump how I feel about this matchup without researching Askren, and then I'm hoping as we start to watch more footage on him, questions will be answered in my mind and I'll be able to work out whether there's any betting opportunities on this fight. So, the one most obvious thing which makes this a messy fight, I tell you what, let's quickly bang out X factors because there aren't any really, but I need to tick it off, right? Maia's got a bit of a size advantage, 6'1" with a 72-inch reach. Ben Askren 5'11", 71-inch reach. Nothing major, but Demian Maia's old as fuck. Like I said, I don't bet on 40-year-olds, so I won't be betting on Maia. That's the first X factor. In terms of where these boys have been training, if we look at Demian Maia's Instagram account, usually he trains at his own gym. Here we can see Demian Maia Jiu-Jitsu in the background and on the mats and stuff. So usually he trains with his own crew. And I think we can pretty much see on his profile, looks like he trains with his own guys, doesn't really train anywhere else, although here he looks like he's with some of the Renzo Gracie guys. But that was probably for his last fight. How long ago was this? Yeah, April. So, looks like Demian Maia trains with his own guys in his own gym. Ben Askren obviously travels around a bit, but the majority of his training takes place at Rufus Sport with Duke Rufus, although there don't appear to be that many pictures in training Rufus Sport. Where's this? Askren Wrestling Academy. So this would be Ben Askren's own gym here. That's pretty much X factors out the way. Not too much to talk about when it comes to training. Both these guys are vets. So, I'm just going to brain dump a few things in relation to Maia before we get into watching some footage on Askren. So, the one real interesting thing about this fight is that for the first time, possibly in his career, which well, maybe not in his entire career, but for the first time in his UFC career, Demian Maia will have the striking advantage here. And it's not even close. Like, Demian Maia is a significantly better striker than Ben Askren. Like, Ben Askren can barely throw a punch, right? Maia's striking is light years ahead of Askren, really, and we've never really been able to say that before about Demian Maia, You know, he fights out of the southpaw stance. And what's interesting is if you go back and watch Demian Maia's fight against Colby Covington, he actually inflicted a decent amount of damage on Covington. He did bust up Covington quite bad. So if he can put hands on a guy like Covington, good chances he can inflict some significant damage on Askren too. Now, Maia doesn't really have any power in his hands. And despite the fact that, you know, Askren did get absolutely death-shotted in his last fight against Masvidal, he has shown in the past in his fights against Robbie Lawler and against Luis Santos that he's a tough motherfucker, right? He can take a shot. Askren's got a decent chin and he's extremely tough. It's not easy to get him out of there. So, you know, I'm not saying like Demian Maia is going to be able to come out and hurt Askren really bad and knock him out. That's very unlikely. But it would be interesting if Maia decided to use his grappling in reverse to keep the fight standing and kind of like just chip away at Ben and outpoint him and win a stand-up fight. That would be really interesting, because what I've noticed about Demian Maia is his cardio is very bad, but ironically, it's only really bad when you make him grapple. Like when a fight's actually standing, his cardio's pretty good, because he stays on the outside and he doesn't like to engage with his opponent. So it's an interesting thing to think about, that if Maia pulled a Fugazi on Saturday night and this didn't turn out to be a grappling match and he kept the fight standing, he could definitely outpoint Maia. And it's possible his cardio might hold up for 25 minutes as well if Askren didn't force him to engage in any crazy grappling exchanges. So that's one thing for us to think about. The next thing that we can think about, just give me a sec. Just 1 second here. The next thing that we can think about is Maia's really only dangerous early. Like, Maia's got a good 6 or 7 minutes in him. But if you go back and watch, you know, the Woodley fight, the Covington fight, the Usman fight, I mean, these are the 3 fights that give us the 3 biggest clues as to how this matchup will play out. Because these 3 guys are obviously 3 strong wrestlers, right? They kind of wrote the blueprint on how to beat Maia. He was on a bit of a tear before he fought. Well, McDonald was the first guy to write the blueprint, possibly even Jake Shields before that. But Maia was on a hell of a tear with dramatically improved offensive wrestling before he ran into Woodley, Covington and Usman. So theoretically, Askren could use the same sort of game plan to defeat Maia. But what I noticed about each of these fights, if you go back and watch these 3 fights, is Maia did put both guys, or all 3 guys, in some tricky positions early in this fight. Because when Maia has got gas in the tank, you know, the first 6 or 7 minutes of the fight, he's very dangerous. I mean, if you remember the first round against Kamaru Usman, he took Usman's back and, you know, Usman was in survival mode for a few minutes. He actually did get Colby Covington down, and he also got in on some really deep takedown attempts on Woodley against the cage, which, you know, I don't think many guys would have been able to stuff a takedown from a guy like Maia that got in that deep on their hips. But of course, Woodley, very, very low center of gravity, very compact, very explosive, very good takedown offense, very good wrestling. But what I'm trying to say is there is a good chance Maia will be able to put Askren in some difficult positions in this fight, at least early. Because I don't believe Askren's wrestling is anywhere near the level of Woodley, Covington or Usman. Now, I know a lot of you will be rushing to the comment section to tell me I'm wrong. Tell me about all the accolades Askren's got at, you know, Olympic wrestling level. Tell me about all the great things that he's done. But when it comes to MMA wrestling, he is not on Usman, Covington or Woodley's level. You know, in pure wrestling, I'm sure he is at a very high level, but his MMA grappling isn't there. And you're going to see that in the fights of his that we watch in this video. But it might not need to be all the way there to beat Maia. You know what I mean? It might not need to be on the level of these guys to get a win here. And that's hopefully what we're going to discover in the footage that we watch together. So some of the things that I want to talk about. I would say that Maia is very predictable. Maia is very, very predictable. If you go back and watch any of his past fights, he goes through like a 4-stage process to take his opponents to the ground. So the first stage is always shooting a single leg takedown on his opponent. If that fails, and it often does because he's not the strongest offensive wrestler and it's not easy to take guys down with single legs, he'll then transition to the double leg. Now, he's very ineffective with the double leg takedown. Like, usually, if he doesn't get a guy down with a single leg and then he advances to the double leg, he'll very quickly then go to the body lock takedown. Now, from there, he's also not that effective. But it's at this stage, the third stage of his takedown, that he kind of becomes dangerous. In the fourth stage of his takedown, he just looks to create a scramble. So, really, the first stage of the takedown where he shoots a single leg, it's just to get hold of your opponent. I don't think even he believes he's going to complete the single leg. He's just trying to tie you up and get a hold of you. And the first stage is the single leg, into the double leg, into the body leg. The fourth stage is where most of Maia's, I'm not even going to call them takedowns because they're not, but after stage 4 is where he gets the majority of his dominant positions from. For example, taking Usman's back in that first round. You know, trapping Tony Martin against the cage, you know, in his last fight. You know, taking Lyman Goods back. It's stage 4. Because guys, generally speaking, you know, at the level of the sport that Maia's competing at, the very highest level of the welterweight division, guys are very good at shutting down the single leg and the double leg and the body lock, especially against a guy like Maia that doesn't have the best offensive wrestling. You know, at 41 years old, he's not the most athletic. But it's stage 4, when he just looks to create a scramble, that he becomes dangerous, because those are moments of chaos where Maia hasn't really planned what he's going to do. He's just going to see how his opponent reacts, and he's going to go with it. So it could be he'll roll for a leg. He'll pull guard but still hold on to a leg. He'll move to try and take the back. He will like threaten to grab hold of the neck. There's a variety of different things he does. It just usually revolves in hanging on to his opponent, keeping a hold of them in some way, and then hoping that they give him something that he can jump on. And quite often he's hoping that guys fall into the trap of giving up their back. Usman fell into the trap in round 1. Lyman Good fell into the trap. Masvidal fell into the trap. Carlos Condit fell into the trap. Matt Brown fell into the trap. Neil Magny fell into the trap. He relies on guys making one mistake so he can take the back. If you stay square to him, like Rocco Martin did, Rocco Martin didn't give his back up. He has a lot more difficulty gaining a dominant position on you. And that's why he did have a lot of problems with Rocco Martin. As you can see, this fight only ended in a majority decision. So it's an interesting fight, because with Ben Askren being such a high-level wrestler, you'd think that he has seen everything there is to see when it comes to grappling. He's defended thousands of single legs, thousands of double legs, thousands of body lock takedowns. And watching footage on Maia, you're going to see the same predictable pattern that I see. And I'm, like I say, just some random dude, some geek off the internet that sits in his pants all day watching fights. If I can identify these patterns, you know, I know nothing about fighting. I would never have the balls to get into a fight. But if I can identify these patterns, this predictable style of fighting, Askren will definitely be able to do the same. And what Covington, Woodley and Usman after round 1 were able to do is also recognise this pattern. And they just didn't let Maia get anywhere near their legs, which was why, you know, after the first round, Maia didn't really have any success against these guys. Because what you'll see Maia do is he'll always try and create a scramble just from keeping hold of a leg. And what these boys did, and what Usman did after round 1, they didn't let Maia get anywhere near his legs. And after that, he didn't have anything. He just had to keep rolling to his back. Can Askren do that? I don't know, but hopefully we're going to be able to discover if he can in the footage that we're going to watch together. You'd think he would be able to, because like I say, he's such a high level wrestler. He's going to be able to identify the pattern I've been able to, and once he gets to the stage 3 body lock, he's just going to know, I just need to clear my legs. And as long as Maia can't get anywhere near my legs or my back, I'm good. He only really has to think about 2 things: protecting his back, and just he can give his leg to Maia. He just cannot cannot let Maia go to any other stage, you know, grabbing a hold around his waist, moving to his back, anything like that. So that's another thing that we have to talk about with Maia. So he's got the striking advantage. Very predictable fighting style. He's dangerous early, but his cardio and output falls off a cliff after 6 or 7 minutes. The only other thing that I want to mention when it comes to Maia is all the fights that I've watched from Ben Askren in the past have been fights where he's been the aggressor, right? He's been the guy that has gone out there and tried to take his opponent down. And his opponent has had to defend against the threat of his grappling. But if you go back and watch the fights against Rory McDonald, against Usman, against Covington, and against Woodley, those are the 4 fights where we kind of saw, I'm not going to say Maia got exposed, but these 4 guys completely shut him down, right? And Jake Shields as well to some extent, but not as much as the McDonald, Usman, and Covington and Woodley that I really want to draw on for this example. So, the reason why these 4 guys were so successful at beating Maia was because they alternated between offense and defense beautifully. So, for example, when they realized the threat of Maia grabbing a hold of them or taking them down was real, they used their grappling in reverse to just defend. So you've probably all got memories of the Woodley fight where Maia was the guy taking control of the centre of the octagon and coming forward. Woodley was the guy on the outside, and every time Maia came forward to initiate a takedown or tie him up, Woodley would just refuse to engage and completely shut him down. We saw McDonald do the same thing. Completely shut Maia down and just chip away at him as he came forward and outstruck him. And then we saw flashes of Covington and Usman do this. So Woodley and McDonald completely used their striking in reverse to shut McDonald down, whereas Covington and Usman alternated between offense and defense. So Woodley and McDonald beat him with defensive wrestling. Covington and Usman beat him with a combination of offensive and defensive wrestling. So if you go back and watch the Covington and Usman fights, what you'll notice is there are times when Usman and Covington are very defensive and they step back and they let Maia lead and Maia control and Maia be the aggressor, and they will just use their wrestling in reverse to keep the fight standing. But then there are other moments in the fight where they will be the aggressor and they will get in his face and they will force him to work. And this is absolutely crucial. It's crucial for Askren. If Askren goes out there and fights like Woodley or McDonald, he'll lose. If he goes out there and fights like Covington or Usman, there's a good chance he'll win. Because the difference between the two, the slight difference between the two strategies that both people used. Oh, 2 secs, guys. The difference that these guys used, the difference that these 2 sets of guys used in order to defeat Maia was that Usman and Covington understood the importance of making Maia work, because like we said earlier on in the breakdown, earlier on in the breakdown we said that even though Maia's got bad cardio, if the fight stays standing, he can fight at a high pace for a very long period of time. And I do think that if this fight stays standing, Maia could outpoint him over 25 minutes, absolutely no problem. But Usman and Covington, particularly probably Covington, because he was to some extent getting outstruck by Maia early in the fight before Maia started to slow down, they understood the importance of making Maia work. So the fight separated into like momentum swings where you'd have Usman being the aggressor and then taking his foot off the accelerator, just using his grappling and defense. It's very important that Askren uses the strategy that Usman and Covington used, because Maia likes to fight in bursts. What you will see with Maia is that he will commit every ounce of energy that he's got to a takedown. And if he doesn't get it, he'll retreat and go into a defensive shell for a few minutes while he conserves energy to shoot the next big wave of attack. And in these 2 or 3 minute periods, if you fight like Woodley and McDonald, you give Maia an opportunity to recharge his batteries. And then he becomes dangerous. Particularly for a guy like Askren that doesn't have the striking to outpoint him. Because if you think of Usman and Covington, every time Maia committed tons of energy to a takedown, they didn't give him a break to relax and recharge his batteries and get ready for the next takedown. I mean, Usman did in stages, but Covington didn't at all. Usman did at times, but Covington didn't at all. And that's very important, because what you might see in this fight, if Askren doesn't stay all over Maia, he could wound up getting outstruck. Because if Maia is able to fight with this burst style where he commits everything to a takedown and Askren shuts him down, and then he goes into a defensive style, but he's still like landing the odd shot and jabbing Askren, he's going to end up outpointing him. So these are like difficult points for me to make, but what I'm saying is this is a difficult fight for... This is a really tricky fight, because if Askren does make him work, it's going to have to be through grappling, which is exactly what Maia wants. Because if the fight stays standing, Askren's actually got nothing for Maia. He's going to get outstruck. But if he allows Maia to fight with his blitzing style, he's probably going to get outworked. So it's a complex fight, because you have to do what Covington and Usman did, and that's force Maia to work. But the only way Askren can force Maia to work is by grappling with him, and that is exactly what Maia wants, which means you're putting yourself in danger. I mean, the only thing that I would say about this fight, which is an area where, you know, Askren could potentially have a lot of success, is the clinch. Because obviously in the clinch, you know, you are forced to work very, very hard. And we haven't really seen a lot of Maia's clinch game. It'll be very interesting to see how this fight goes if Askren starts beating Maia up in the clinch, you know, forcing him to work, forcing him to engage. That's interesting. So I know that's all a bit messy, guys, but you know that these live research videos are super messy, and they're not that planned, and I'm just kind of brain dumping, right? I've done my research on Maia. I'm just sharing with you guys how I feel about it. So from my perspective, when we now go into watching these fights of Askren together, what I'm looking for is, have we seen any signs of him in the past to be able to alternate through offensive and defensive wrestling, or does he just come out and just try and smoke people? That's basically what I'm looking for here. Does he come out here and try and be the alpha, or does he actually can he create a balance? Because he's gonna need to be balanced. When Maia shoots a takedown, he's gonna have to take it seriously, and he's really going to have to focus hard on keeping this fight standing and shutting Maia down. So, you know, it's a very interesting fight, and what I'm looking for in this fight, as well as seeing if Askren can alternate between those offensive and defensive states of grappling, I'm also looking at seeing what his own takedown defense is like, you know, what he's like in the scramble. Now, this might be difficult to gauge, because he is essentially... he has been can crushing over the last few years, hasn't fought a very high level opponent at all. But like I say, that stage 4 of the takedown in the scramble is where Maia's at his most dangerous. So we really need to see what Askren is like in the scramble. Now, like I say, the problem with that is he is incredibly good when it comes to wrestling, right? Where he's been facing these low level opponents, it's unlikely that many of these guys have caused him a problem in the scramble. So I'm going to do something that I don't often do in this breakdown, which is go in And looking way further back in a fighter's career, to go back and look at Askren's fights against Jay Hiron and Andrei Koreshkov, possibly Carla Masu, possibly Douglas Lima, to see if we can see how Askren reacts in the scramble, because I don't think we're going to get too many answers to that particular question watching his fights in one. But you never know, right? You never, ever, ever know. And what I'm going to do now, boys, is we are going to just check out the live chat on Twitch. We are going to answer any questions you guys have got about this fight, and then we're going to jump into starting watching some Askren's fights. This video probably will end up being a long one though, because like I say, I do want to go deeper back into Askren's career and just basically learn how he deals in the scramble, because that is the area where he's at the most dangerous. That's stage 4 of Maia's takedown attempt. Right, let us get into this now, boys. Leave a comment on Twitch, guys, in the live chat if you have anything you would like to ask me, and then we will get into watching some footage on our boy Ben Askren. Let's take a look. So Dick Turpin has come out with a really, really good point. So Dick has said, oh mate, it feels crazy me calling you Dick, but Dick Turpin has basically said Ben's been training with Woodley and Woodley shined against Maia. It's a really, really good point that Dick Turpin's brought up, because obviously Tyron Woodley completely shut Demian Maia down. It was a total shutout. It was a dominant performance. And Ben Askren was a big part of Tyron Woodley's training camp for this fight. You know, one of the reasons why Woodley did so well against Maia was because of Ben Askren. You know, Woodley himself credited Ben Askren with the work he helped him do. So you would think that Demian Maia would also already be heavily on Askren's radar. Askren will already know what threats Maia brings to the table. He will already be prepared for it. So a great point from Dick Turpin there that I forgot about. McSweaty Balls has said, surely Askren by decision's a very strong bet. Askren is tempting, mate. I'm hoping we get an answer to a few of our questions when we watch footage on him. McSweaty Balls has said, have you seen Askren's power? He throws pillows at his opponents. Penny Lane 1, I'm really sorry, dude. I haven't researched the Nelson versus Maia fight yet, so I can't really talk about it. What I would say, though, is that Nelson looked a bit better against Mirko Cro Cop after looking like he was on a steep decline over the last 2 or 3 years, whereas Frank Maia is alright. You know, Frank Maia, he's been looking very poor over the last few years, so maybe, man, maybe I see you thinking of a bet on Nelson. I am looking forward to researching that one, because out of the two, Maia looks to be more shot than Nelson, but you never know. Turning Screws is saying, all the people Maia has been gassing against are really good defensive wrestlers, and Maia has to use all his gas taking them down. He can grapple all day long if you take wrestling out of the equation. I actually disagree with you there, Turning Screws. If you go back and watch Maia's last fight against Anthony Rocco Martin, you'll see that he gasses very, very bad without basically exerting any energy at all. Wasn't forced to work that hard at all in this fight, and gassed really, really hard. So I do disagree with what you said there, but his cardio is really funky. Like, in some of his fights, his cardio looks absolutely terrible. In others, it doesn't look that bad at all. And it is quite ironic that Maia's cardio actually looks better when he's striking as opposed to grappling. Tasmanian 187 has said, is it true that Ben called out Maia, and if so, do you think it's because Ben sees an easy path to victory? Maybe, but Ben has been calling out everyone in the division, so it's tough to say. Tivo Imamka 1 has said, thoughts on Volkov being minus 175 against Greg Hardy. Jeez, man, I didn't know we had odds for that fight already. Minus 175 is 1.57. That is interesting, mate. That is interesting. I haven't researched it yet, but that is a tough fight for Hardy. Oh, nice one as well, guys, for got some trolls in the live chat. Nice one, everyone, for calling him a dickhead. Kazuchika 420 has said Askren will have the cardio advantage and he'll have a control advantage on top, in my opinion. And then he's also said, was Askren ever taken down? I'm not sure, mate. Hopefully we can find out, though. We're going to watch tons of footage on Askren here. Ground Zero has said Maia also has to make certain that he ends up on top. Ben is far too polished when he is on top for Maia to rely on being able to sweep. I am hoping we can learn a bit about that, you know. I am hoping we can learn some from watching Askren's past fights. Jody Gustin has said, is Maia the best offensive wrestler Askren has faced? Let's take a look, man. Yeah, probably, dude. Probably, mate. I would say so. Oh, thanks, PMA every day. Really appreciate you for subscribing, man. Thanks a lot, dude. And I am also working on some custom emotes, boys. I have got this emote here, a Joe Rogan one, which, as you can see, is pending. To see if the guys at Twitch will let me use it. I was thinking for the emotes for the subscribers, we could have Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo, and Brendan Schaub. And then for the additional ones, how about a Dana White and The Rock? So that's what I'm working on at the moment, guys. So big thank you to PMA every day. And like an absolute clown, I have actually wiped the chat just by doing that. Can't actually see any of your questions anymore, boys. So really sorry. Twitch has wiped the chat as I clicked onto that, but let's get into watching some footage, boys, and hopefully we will be able to see if Askren's going to be worth a bet or not. So the first fight we are going to watch, obviously these two are copyright protected, so we can't check these out. So let's have a little look at his fight against Shinja Oki from back in November 2017. Let's take a look at this one. Okay, maybe not. Is it? Okay, it's this one. Let's take a look at this. So, Aoki pulling guard instantly, which is quite interesting. Askren doing a nice job of fighting the hands there. Notice how that's very interesting. That is very interesting. So this is not something you see very often. Even from very high level grapplers, you don't often see this. This is quite cool, actually. There's a great shot there. Notice how Askren is hand fighting with Aoki straight away. Like when Askren's not trying to punch or elbow Aoki in the face, he's got control of both of Aoki's hands. And this completely shuts Aoki's offense down, because he can't work for submissions if he can't use his hands. Like, you know, you can't just use your legs. You have nothing here. You need your hands. So Askren's completely shut down Aoki's offense off his back here by fighting hands with him like this. This is quite cool. You very rarely see this. In fact, I can't remember the last time I saw someone do this. Look, every time that he stops Every time that he's not throwing a strike, he's controlling both of Aoki's hands. This is fucking genius from Askren, and very, very heavy ground and pound as well. This is nice. I like what I see already. This is pretty cool, you know, because if Maia's on his back, the one way that he does get dominant positions from that position is roll him for legs. And he's not going to be able to roll for a leg and grab hold of it if Askren won't let him, because he's controlling those hands. So that is pretty cool. That is interesting. Obviously, the fight ended very quick, but even just in a minute, we got to learn a little bit about Askren there. Haven't seen him do that before. That's pretty cool, though. Now, let's go watch his fight against Sebastian Kadestam from September 2017. What do we have here? From memory, I don't think Askren looked very good in this fight. Remember, we're not judging his offensive wrestling, really. Judging his defensive wrestling. So a nice takedown there into side control. And I'm just kind of looking at any danger that Askren might put himself in these grappling exchanges. I mean, this is a mistake. This is definitely a mistake. You wouldn't expect him to do this against Maia, though. You know, by trying to take the back of his opponent, he is taking some risks there. He got really high up on Kadestam's torso. Was at risk of being shaken off, but he got away with it here. Proisy's against a low-level grappler. You know, someone like Maia might have been able to shake him off very quickly and end up in top position. I mean, Askren's mounted his opponent here. It's tough to gauge anything, really. Just, you know, Askren's not fighting a very high level of opponent here. You know, the way he's able to pass his guard and mount him so easily is not a good sign. His opponent's just hanging on here. Really doesn't have any idea how to improve his position. But someone just said, Jody Gustin said, Askren doesn't have pillow fists on the ground. Certainly doesn't look like it, mate. That ground and pound against Aoki was nasty. And Colt 45 just making the point that, you know, these guys that Askren was fighting in one a super low level. So it is going to be tough to gauge his skills, but, you know, against Aoki when he ended up on top, very, very nice how he controlled the hands. Almost disdainfully, like he wasn't showing Aoki any respect at all. And it's tough to gauge how heavy Askren's top game is here because, like I say, his opponent's got nothing off his back. Doesn't know how to improve his position here. Obviously, it's not going to be easy to improve your position when you've got an Olympic level wrestler on top of you. I mean, one thing we can say, though, Askren does have heavy hands from top position. And the ref just, you know, possibly could even have stopped this fight. Let's go into the second, though. This is round 2. And the thing is, where you see Askren coming forward with this plodding style, just chin up high and exposed, hands down low. Maia's footwork is pretty decent. He can just chip away at Askren, you know, and outstrike him quite easily. Nice double leg takedown there, straight into side control. Askren actually looked like he was thinking about a bulldog choke for a second there that he caught Robbie Lawler with. But now thinking about going back to mount. I don't know, Tasmanian 187 saying that he doesn't see heavy hands when ground and pound. I mean, those shots he was landing on Aoki from top position, pretty vicious, man. And again, Askren's been able to advance in the mount quite easily here. But it's tough to gauge. Very tough to gauge how impressive that is, because, like I say, his opponent, poor takedown defense, doesn't really appear to know how to improve his position on the ground at all. And Askren just manhandling him, dragging him around like a child, really. I'm not sure how much we're going to learn from this fight. Just a total mauling, but really tough to... really actually quite tough to get any kind of measure on how good Askren was there, because his opponent looked such a low level on the ground. Let's now look at Askren's fight against Aguilan Thani from May 2017. See, now that, yeah, I'm sure that he won't do this against Maia. I'm sure that he won't do this against Maia, but that's a bit of a red flag, right? Look, if you're such a strong wrestler, if you're an Olympic level wrestler, why do you need to go for a Paige Van Zandt style head and arm throw here? You know, if he used that technique against Maia, he would put himself at significant risk of having his back taken. I mean, it works against these lower level guys, or does it? He might get reversed here, no. So that is a bit of a red flag when you see him do stuff like that. But maybe it's just because he's got no respect for his opponent's grappling. But, you know, when he exposes back like that on a head and arm throw, not good at all. Kazuchika 420 saying, seems like Askren's formula is always the same. Takedown, clinch, to dominant position and constant work, and then equals win. And I mean, he does work very, very hard, constantly active, constantly trying to improve his position. And I mean, there's no question that Askren's got the better cardio here. Absolutely no question at all. I mean, whenever Maia gets sucked into grueling grappling exchanges, he usually gasses out, like I say, after 6 or 7 minutes, whereas Askren committed tons of energy in that last fight we watched against Kazakhstan and still kept working at a high pace. So Thani back up here on a single leg of his own. So this is interesting because obviously the single leg is Demian Maia's #1 weapon, or stage 1 anyway, of getting his opponents to the ground. So here we see Thani in on a single leg. Askren choosing to defend it with a guillotine. Not the best technique to use, not the correct technique to use, but again, showing no respect for his opponent and just literally picking him up and throwing him on the ground. And looks like he's going to advance the mount again, looking to clear his left leg. Here he goes, slipping his left leg out and stepping over into mount. Oh, he doesn't actually. He steps over into a head and arm choke. Very, very nice. Another win for Maia. Sorry, for Askren. Now let's go on to watching the next fight against Nikolai Alexakin. Now, if I remember correctly, I've watched this fight before. I think Alexakin gives him some problems here. So let's take a look at this one. So Maia shooting his first takedown here. Easily gets it. Oh, he didn't actually. Have to work quite hard for it. Decent bit of chain wrestling there though to go from the double leg to the body lock. What I do like about Askren is every time he gets a takedown, it's always into side control. And from side control, his opponent doesn't really have anything when they hit the ground. It's fighting very safe Very intelligent takedowns, not putting himself in any unnecessary danger. Put himself in some unnecessary danger there. Almost got reversed going for a crucifix. But again, when you see Askren do these things, like, you know, trying to take his opponent's back, trying to go for a crucifix, putting himself in a position where he might get reversed, is he just doing it because he absolutely shows no respect to his opponents? Is he going to do those same things against Maia? Is he going to take those risks, or is he just going to stay in half guard and look to hammer Maia with ground and pound? Is he even going to look to take this fight down to the ground, or is he going to use his wrestling in reverse to just beat Maia up in the clinch? So Kamikaze82 has asked a question that I'm really interested in. So he's asked if Ben has ever had his back taken. That's a question I want answered as well, mate. Although with the level of opponents that he's been fighting in one, don't know if we're going to get an answer to that question, man. I really don't. So a lot of you guys in the live chat saying that you are considering a bet on Maia. Not sure about that. Not sure about that at all. Remember, guys, Maia's 41 years old. Only really has a good 6 or 7 minutes in him. And as we can see from Askren, he is constantly working. He's relentless. But again, it is difficult to gauge Askren's defensive wrestling, defensive grappling, obviously, because he's always the aggressor. He is always the hammer. He is never the nail. And we really want to see just some examples of him being the nail. Here he finally got his crucifix. What are we saying, guys, about this fight? What do you reckon? Is anyone betting Askren? I can see a lot of people on Maia. What do you think about Askren, boys? Anyone interested in Askren? If we look at the odds, currently around about an average of 1.57, which is minus 175 for an implied probability of 64%. So really, to bet on Askren here, you want to be capping him at about 70%. So Tasmanian 187, usually those knees would be illegal. So Taz has just mentioned on the live chat in Twitch, see that knee there from Askren? Usually that would be illegal in the UFC. That's a knee to a downed opponent, but in one they're legal. Not sure if they're legal anymore, but when this fight took place, soccer kicks, knees to downed opponents, it was all legal. So Solar Cowboy with a really interesting point. So Solar Cowboy has said that, you know, he believes that when an undefeated fighter is finally beaten, it basically lifts a tremendous amount of stress off their shoulders, right? A lot of weight off their shoulders. And for that, you think Askren's going to get right back on track and look great now that he's lost to Masvidal, and all that pressure of not being undefeated anymore is now off his shoulders. It's a good point, man. I mean, just, you know, if we think about just, you know, the last year, we've seen Cyborg talk about it. She basically imploded in her fight against Amanda Nunes. Just basically went right out, got in Nunes' face, got into a crazy exchange, and basically did the only thing that she could have done to give Nunes a chance of winning that, just get into a firefight. And Nunes knocked her out, and then when she lost, Cyborg almost looked relieved. We saw Rose Namajunas do the same thing. And she was almost relieved when she lost to Jessica Andrade. She actually looked happy that she lost. She didn't have the pressure of carrying the belt anymore. And of course then Andrade kind of did the same thing against Weili Zhang, where she just went out and got absolutely murked. So I know those girls weren't undefeated, but same sort of thing. When you carry this weight of expectation on your shoulder, you know, a lot of the time is too much for fighters, and then when it gets lifted, they can go back to performing the best of their ability. So that's a really good point. A really, really good point from Solar Cowboy. So Tiny Danza has said that Ben Askren seems to be really committed to just controlling his opponents, and in a fight like this where you've really got to shut Maia down, that would be a huge asset, right? Because he's just going to look to shut. But just then, like a little mistake, right? We've seen a couple little mistakes from Askren. So, you know, in our last fight against Thani, we saw him go for a Paige Van Zandt style head and arm throw. Here, he throws a crazy spinning attack. Just because he's insecure in the striking. I mean, he doesn't know. He doesn't have any striking. So because of that, he kind of does crazy shit. You know what I mean? Because he's not thinking straight. He doesn't understand. He doesn't feel comfortable in there. So he ends up throwing a crazy spinning attack here, which exposes his back to his opponent. There it is there, right? And his opponent got in on a body lock. I mean, if that's Demian Maia, you only need a fraction of a second to get your back taken against Maia. So it's these little mistakes that Askren has made because he's not comfortable in certain positions, could really cost him against Maia. You don't want to be giving your back up in a position like that. But inevitably, Askren gets another takedown. Cafo Nex has brought up a really good point as well. He's saying that, you know, really we haven't seen much of Ben Askren in his last two fights in the UFC. You know, both fights last combined time of under 4 minutes. And obviously drug testing in one's going to be non-existent. We haven't really seen Ben Askren compete under USADA drug testing. I mean, I know he doesn't look like a PED user, but plenty of guys have been popped in the past when they haven't looked like PED users. You know, you never know, man. You never know who is on it and who is not. So it's a horrible position here for Askren to be in. He had his arm trapped there, but this is the kind of shit I'm interested in seeing, right? So Askren got caught in a crazy scramble there. Looked to take mount. Askren gave his back up to try and escape the position. In a scramble, Askren actually ends up on the bottom, which would be a terrible place to be under Maia. Obviously, Askren doesn't have the heaviest top game, and Askren's able to use a single leg to stand right back up. But just a little bit of another little bit of a hole there from Ben Askren. You know, we've got him giving his back up when going for a head and arm throw against Thani, throwing that spinning back fist against Askren, getting caught in a scramble there. Okay, so Kazuchika 420 has also asked me to just mention that this fight against Askren is at £185 instead of the welterweight division that Askren will be competing in against Demian Maia. Interesting. And again, just what's interesting about the way that Askren ends up on the bottom here is, again, it's in one of like these crazy scrambles, these really awkward, funky exchanges, right? He ends up on the bottom. This is stage 4 of Maia's. It's stage 4 of Maia's plan to get fights to the ground by making you get into like these crazy, ugly exchanges, and then he capitalizes and gains a dominant position on you. That's what's concerning. You know, when Ben Askren's getting reversed from mount, when he's getting caught on the bottom with like a weird trip, just like we saw there. These are the kind of situations that he will get caught out against Maia in. You know, there are red flags here. But again, the thing is, you've got to ask yourself, is Askren just getting caught with these mistakes because he is showing no respect to Alex Askren at all. Is he getting reversed and ended up on the bottom because he just doesn't respect Alex Askren's grappling? Look, he kind of almost got reversed there. He almost ended up on the bottom there. You know, he rolled with Alex Askren when he kicked off the cage, but he very almost ended up on the bottom. And what I'm trying to say is he getting caught here because he doesn't respect these guys? And again, big mistake. So he's pulling guard on a guillotine attempt. Big mistake. You wouldn't want to do that against Maia because you could easily, again, end up on the bottom. But like I say, is Askren doing this? Is he making these mistakes? He doesn't respect Alex Askren. You know, against Maia, are we going to see him be very disciplined? Just like Tyron Woodley, completely shut Maia's shit down. There you go. Kick to a downed opponent, soccer kick there from Askren. All that shit legal in one. Not sure if it's still legal in one or if they changed the rules, but back then it was. IOL Chapo has said that these guys aren't threatening submissions like Maia will be off his back. You know what, mate? Maia doesn't really threaten with submissions unless he could take you back. But he just goes for, like, devastating control. Maia's control is an absolute nightmare. There you can see Askren getting his gum shield punched out there by Alex Askren. Oh, Tasmanian 187, mate. We're going to play you a fight in a minute, mate. Luis Santos against Askren, where there's all kinds of close calls there. Santos almost kicks Askren's head off. When he is down, he goes for a soccer kick, narrowly misses. But here you can see Askren's very poor striking defense, right? Really low level striking. How vulnerable he is standing. You know, like I say, not very often you could give Demian Maia a striking advantage, but fucking hell, he definitely has one here. Askren looking super shit standing up. And I mean, Maia's got much better footwork than Alex Askren. You know, realistically, Maia could keep this fight standing and just completely shut Askren's shit down. Kazuchika 420 has said that if, basically he's asking that if Askren and Maia both had top position, who's got the heavier top game? I would say, without doubt, Maia, because we've seen Askren get top position on guys and they've been able to scramble back to their feet. I mean, Alex Askren has done it several times in this fight. I can't think of anyone who have been able to get back to their feet with Maia on top of them. I literally can't think of anyone. So I would say Maia's got the heavier top game. Dick Turpin is saying jab. Maia's going to score some easy points. And I would agree with you based on what we're seeing in this fight, dude. I mean, look, this is why I like to do fight research. Like, just basically go and watch as much footage as possible. Because when I'm visualizing this fight, I could just visualize Maia on the outside. And as Askren comes forward, he's just chipping away at him, outstriking him. You know, Maia's an intelligent guy. The easiest path to victory for Maia might be just keeping this fight standing. So obviously we're seeing a good amount of holes in this fight from Askren that potentially Maia could exploit. And Askren in side control here, chipping away at Alex Askren. But something worth noting, we're deep into the third round now. This fight's almost been going for 15 minutes. Askren's still working very hard, still chipping away with ground and pound. Still working. Maia can't keep up this pace on the ground. Mastered by Jazz is saying that he will get takedowns on Maia. Dick Turpin has said we always write off the old boys. Maybe Maia is an outlier. Possibly, dude. Tiny Danzer is saying Askren's got a cardio advantage by a lot. I agree, dude. Well said, dude. Well said, Danza. Harry Snotter 17 has said grappling takes a lot of energy. You are right, dude. You are right. Let's go into this 4th round then, shall we? And you just see how vulnerable Askren looks standing. Like, if... I mean, look at that there. Another mistake. Exposing his back to Maia. Exposing his back to Askren. Watch here. What is he doing? What is he doing? What is this? What is this? You know, that slight fraction of a second where you expose your back. Maia could jump in on a body lock, take you back, and you're in a world of trouble. And of course, as of yet, we haven't seen any of Askren's submission defense. Askren definitely not looking great here. Obviously, when he gains dominant positions, he's very, very offensive, but he's made tons of mistakes in this fight. Askren actually did well in this fight. But as we can see, you know, even though Askren's looking very bad standing and making some mistakes, cardio's still on point, right? Not even breathing heavy, not looking tired. And he actually ate a head kick for his trouble there. Askren going to the ground with him. Get to see a little bit of Askren off his back here. Askren just lets him back up. Jody Gustin has said that Askren's poor striking defense will make Maia look like Adesanya if the fight stays standing. I agree, dude. Not like Maia's so much better when it comes to striking. And I mean, look at this takedown entry here. I mean, I haven't talked about Askren's offensive wrestling in this fight, so I don't think it's relevant. Because I just don't see Askren going out there and shooting takedowns on Maia. I think he'll beat him up in the clinch, and I think he'll go to the ground and end up on top if Maia rolls to his back or initiates a grapple exchange. But look how telegraphed that takedown entry is. Way too high above his opponent's hips. Super telegraphed. Not very good at all. Very nice body lock takedown in the side control there. Again, look at fishing for the crucifix here. You can see him kind of thinking about pinning down Askren's right arm, and he's moving higher up on Askren's torso to potentially try and trap that right arm. But I think he sensed that Askren was going to hit another reversal there, which is why he went back to half guard. Now you can see him try and free his right leg and advance to mount. He's going to get it. Askren's got nothing. Oh, again. Oh, what? What are you doing? Look at that, guys. Askren getting caught with exactly the same reversal that he did in round 2. I was just thinking then, when you start to see Askren push down on the left leg of Askren to free his right leg, I'm sat here thinking to myself, why is Askren letting him do that? Like, he didn't look that tired at the beginning of round 4. He hasn't looked that bad off his back. Like, why is he just going to let why is he just going to let Askren mount him like that? And of course, he's baiting Askren into taking mount so that he can create the scramble and hit the reversal. Very, very nicely done from Askren. Watch. As Maia pushes down on the right leg here to free his right leg. Perfectly timed scramble from Askren straight into top position. Guys, I'm no fucking rocket scientist, but can you imagine anyone doing that to Demian Maia? Can you imagine Askren doing that to Demian Maia when Demian Maia is in top position? Stop it. Stop it. Not fucking happening. Not happening. Like they say, there are levels to this game. There are levels. It's like we saw with Adesanya and Whittaker a few weeks back, right? There are levels to this game. Yes, Whittaker's a decent MMA striker, but he is nowhere near Adesanya's level. And, you know, we are seeing that here with Askren. It's the only shame is that Maia's cardio is bad, really bad. And if Askren sucks him into these crazy grapple exchanges, Maia's going to be gassed out of his mind after 5 or 6 minutes. There's no question. There is no question. Take care, Kazuchika. Have a good night, bro. Have a good night, dude. Have a good night. Colt45 is saying, Ben Askren's a fraud. That's such a confrontational word. I get called a fraud. I get called a fraud from time to time. Such a nasty little word. I don't think Askren's a fraud, man. I think he's a very, very good fighter. I just think he has big holes, and I think he's a little bit too one-dimensional. But watching this fight is interesting. Very interesting. I was thinking, you know, there's no way I'm betting on a 41. Again, he did it. He went for a spinning attack. There it is, boys. Spinning attack, exposing his back to Askren again. When I started this video, I said there's no way I'm betting on a 41-year-old. Now I'm like, he exposed his back there. Look. He exposed his back again. As he's in on this takedown, his back's completely exposed. A higher level grappler might have been able to take his back in that fraction of a second here. Now, I was just before that frame. He might be able to take his back here. See, back completely exposed. Cage is protecting him a little, but he's in a very vulnerable position here. Kamikaze82 is saying that his wrestling is so strong, but his BJJ not so good. You know, I'm not so sure, man. I'm not liking Askren's wrestling even too much here. Making a lot of mistakes. But the problem we've got, the big issue with research in this fight, is we've seen tons of holes from Askren in this Askren fight that Maia could potentially exploit. But will Askren fight like this against Maia? Or is he just making these mistakes because he just does not respect Askren at all? Right? That's the question. Dick Turpin is saying, can we honestly say that we're going to put hard-earned cash down on Askren? I can't see Askren's path to victory. Askren definitely has a path to victory, dude. Just because, you know, we're going into the 5th round now. This is a 20-minute fight, or 25-minute fight, but it's been 20 minutes so far. Maia wouldn't be able to keep this pace up, right? He would definitely gas out by now. So if Askren's able to create these crazy grapple exchanges and force Maia to work, by the 3rd round, he's going to be gassed out of his mind. But the question is, will Maia make him pay before that? Yeah, he definitely could lead doses. So lead doses just asking if Maia could keep this on the feet and box Askren up for 5 rounds. Yeah, definitely. Definitely could happen. Thought that Ben Askren got a finish in this fight. No, went to a decision. Interesting. Well, the good thing about this fight is we've learned a lot about Askren, right? We've learned that he's definitely got cardio to go hard for 25 minutes. Hasn't really slowed down a lot. He is still working very hard, and also he's relentless. Like even in this 5th round, he is still chipping away at Askren. Very, very active. Never slows down. Oh, nice one, Dick Turpin. Thanks a lot, dude. Thanks a lot, Dick Turpin. Appreciate it, man. And you might be smart to leave this fight well alone, mate. Because both guys are definitely flawed. Maia's cardio, Askren striking non-existent. Makes some mistakes as well, you know? Makes some big mistakes. At least in this fight, right? And he did make that one mistake against Stani of going for the head and arm throw. But again, is it because he doesn't respect these guys? But at the same time, you know, Alex Askren has caused him some problems, man. Like, I haven't been scoring this fight. I haven't been paying attention to it. But is Askren definitely winning this fight? Or, you know, what are the scorecards looking like? You know, Alex Askren's had his moments, right? Looks like he's been dominated for the majority of the fight, but now is Askren just getting complacent and making these mistakes because he knows he's well ahead on the judges' scorecards? Again, another spinning attack. Really high above his opponent's hips is where he shot in there. Transition from a double leg to a single leg nicely, though, to complete it. And these knees to a downed opponent in one. Very interesting to see. Completely changes the complexion of a fight, really. IOL Chapo. Like I say, every once in a while, someone comes along and they take everything that I say in like a 1 hour video and they just fucking summarize it beautifully. And IOL Chapo has done that here. He said that Maia has the submission and striking advantages, and that leaves Askren with the cardio and wrestling advantage. He pretty much summed it up, dude. Pretty much summed it up. Master by Jazz saying wrestling beats BJJ historically. True. Same position over submission. True. Master by Jazz saying Maia too comfortable on his back. So again, you know, Askren's making a mistake here as well, guys. So he's taken Alex Askren's back, but he releases a hook here on the right side, on his right side. And in this, oh, bollocks. Sorry, guys. Let me just find where we are. Okay, here. So he only has one hook in here. In this position, Askren doesn't have a lot. Only has control of one of Alex Askren's hands. Only one hook in, not even a deep hook. Taking a risk here, Alex Askren could easily explode in the top position. He might. I don't know what's going to happen here. He's blocking Askren from getting that second hook in there. Askren does a good job of rolling with him and taking mount, but if he was thinking slightly quicker there, Alex Askren could have just exploded in the top position. And again, Askren getting very high up on Alex Askren's torso, keeping a hold of the Kimura to prevent himself from getting shaken off. But he is very funky. Like his nickname Ben Funky Askren. You can see why he makes tons of like funky mistakes, and you're like, fucking hell, like he makes a ton of mistakes, and on some occasions throughout this fight, he's been made to pay for those mistakes. But on other occasions, he hasn't been made to pay for those mistakes. And then you're just like, what is this guy? Like, is he doing it on purpose? Is it because he doesn't respect his opponent? Or is that him when he's fighting to the best of his ability? IOL Chapo has said that I don't think cardio will win a fight if you don't have any fighting advantages. I do strongly disagree with you there, dude. Because if Maia, is completely gassed after 5, 6, 7 minutes, he's then got to spend 15 minutes in there with Askren, who is relentless, and might drive him into the cage, beat him up in the clinch, might drag him to the ground, beat him up on the ground. Like, it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare, you know what I mean? I think cardio definitely is a big factor here. Turning screws, true, dude, true. Turning screws has said Maia still fights back when he's tired. It's not like he's getting finished, especially if his grappling exchange. I do agree. I think what Turning Screws is basically trying to say is, even when Maia is very, very tired, it's not like he's completely useless. It's not like he's completely shit. And that probably is because Maia does get tired in all his fights. So he's used to fighting tired, so he doesn't panic. Do you know what I mean? Like, if a fighter just completely gasses out of nowhere, they panic, and then they're just totally ineffective. Well, Maia's so used to feeling tired that he's still pretty decent, right? So we've watched a good amount of footage on Askren now, although it's difficult to get the answers to all our questions because he is fighting a very low level of opponent. So remember, early on, I said that I would go further back in Askren's career to watch him against some grapplers to kind of gauge how he might do in the scramble against Maia. Now, didn't do very well at certain flashpoints in that Askren fight. So that it's difficult to put weight on that, because is it just because Askren took chances because he didn't respect Askren's grappling? Whereas if we watch him against Andrei Koreshkov, that's a strong wrestler, against Jay Hayron, who used to be a strong wrestler, you see this fight end in a split decision, you'd think that Askren would show more respect to these guys. So I know that, you know, these fights took place a long time ago. Koreshkov fight in 2013, Hayron fight in 2011. You'd expect Askren to have improved a lot since then, right? These fights were 9 years ago, 7, 8, 9 years ago. You know, training full time at Rufus Sport. You'd think Askren would have improved a lot, but let's just watch him and see what happens. Because at the same time, Askren was a hell of a lot younger back then. You know, he's 35 years old now. You'd expect him to be quite a bit more athletic in these fights. So let's first of all watch this fight. This is against Andrei Koreshkov. And we will see what Askren brings to the table here. So interesting there. Askren did expose his back to Koreshkov. Let's watch that again. So here, oh, just a second too late. Just a second too late. So if you watch, kinda, it was just before this frame, but Askren kind of exposed his back here. Notice how he's got his left leg on the inside of Koreshkov because he's looking for a throw. But this here is going to be Koreshkov's left hand. So Askren's got an underhook here, which makes it difficult for Koreshkov to connect his hands together. But Askren's back is completely exposed here. So on a few, and it's exposed again there. It is actually exposed again there. Watch, watch, watch. There. Completely exposed while he's looking for this throw. And we are just seeing a few situations now. A few situations now where Askren is exposing his back. WDE98 saying that you could play on slow-mo on YouTube to show things easier. Didn't think of that, dude. How do I play slow-mo? Is it in the settings or something? Let me know, boys, how I play slow-mo. That would be a great idea. Oh, thanks a lot to an anonymous cheerer. Really, really appreciate that, dude. Thank you very much, mate. Oh, Demon Slay 677 dropping knowledge as well. I apparently can press some buttons and go frame by frame. Oh my god. That is a fucking game changer. Demon Slay 677, you little devil. Should change your name to Devil Slay. You are, mate, that is fucking amazing. That is a game changer. Demon Slay. Look, I'm getting carried away now. Look at this. Look at this. I can take it to exactly what I want. Nice one, dude. Thanks a lot, mate. That means a lot. I did not know that. Demon Slay, you are a fucking legend, dude. That is a game changer. Thanks a lot, mate. That is sick. Thank you, dude. That is literally, like, gonna make shit so much easier. Does it work on other players? Does it work on other ones, or is it just YouTube? Probably just YouTube, right? Yeah, it's just YouTube. It's alright, though. It's alright. That is fucking great. Nice one, Demon Slay, man. Thanks, dude. What weight class is this? Because Askren's looking a lot leaner than he usually does. Welterweight. Yeah, well, Chapo, 100%, mate. 100%. Okay, so again, guys, right? It only took us a minute to see the first mistake that Askren's making here. So why not just beat Koreshkov up? Use your grappling control to beat Koreshkov up. Why do you have to go for a guillotine here? Why do you have to roll for a guillotine? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why? I don't understand why you are putting yourself on the bottom. Why are you doing this? Askren is literally just pulled guard on a guillotine. Why are you doing this? It's things like this that bother me. Are you doing this because you do not respect the grappling of your opponent? Or are you doing this because you are one of these guys like Kevin Holland that puts himself in bad positions because you have brain dumps? Good night, Lee Dosis. Take care, mate. Good night, dude. Like, why are you pulling guard here? Why? Why are you doing that? Guys, fuck. Something is happening here, boys. Something is fucking happening. I am getting very tempted to bet on a 41-year-old. Because I understand why you would not respect Askren or Abasov or Thani or any of these other unknown guys. You would have to respect Koreshkov. I think Maia can catch him in some really bad positions, boys. Let's face it, he makes a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. You know what, Tiny Danza? So Tiny Danza has said that he thinks there's 0% chance Askren pulls guard on a choke against Maia. His game plan is to control and pillow fist. You know what though, dude? Over the years I've learned, can't trust fighters, man. Can't trust fighters. You can never trust them to show up and fight smart. Do you know the thing that's eating away at me here? The thing that is making me... Before I came into this, you saw it at the start of the video, boys. This is why I love doing these live research videos, right? Like, why are you even trying to take Koreshkov's back here? Why are you not just maintaining control and beating him up? Because again, Koreshkov, Askren's really hasn't got a lot in these... Oh, yes. Demon Slay. Demon Slay with the frame by frame. If you look here, in this actual Demon Slay, shout out to you, Demon Slay, giving me the exact frames that I want. So when we go a few more frames down the line, it's more difficult for Koreshkov to explode in the top position, because Askren's got an underhook on the left side and he's fighting hands on the right side, which makes it more difficult for Koreshkov to explode in the top position. But in this window here, Askren doesn't have a lot. I mean, he has a hook on the left side, doesn't have a right hook, has a kind of loosey-goosey underhook on the left side, but nothing here. In this moment, Koreshkov could just turn to his left and end up in top position, like we saw Askren do, where he baited Askren to go for mount so that he could then reverse into top position. Like, Askren got away with it here, but he makes mistakes, man. He makes mistakes. He absolutely makes a lot of mistakes. What are the implied probabilities? Say an average of 2.50. That's about 40%. Don't know, man. 40%. Is this a 50-50 fight? Is it? It might be. It might be. It might be. And now, boys, I start to go quiet while I really start to think about this fight. While I really start to think about this fight. Do you know what I think a big difference here is? I don't think Askren's that scary in top position for a guy like Maia. But if Maia gets on top of Askren, I think we're looking at like 10-8 rounds. I literally see Askren doing nothing on his back. But then, look, this is another position he might get caught in. So if you look at, Demon Slay with the frame by frame, we'll find the frame here. Bam, there you go. So remember where I talk about the 4 stages of Maia's takedown. Single leg, double leg, body lock, funky scramble. Excuse me. Excuse me, boys. Sorry. I would consider this a funky scramble. Because what you see here is Maia's just kind of like... Sorry, Askren's kind of just like kneeling. Back's fully exposed. Doesn't really have control of Koreshkov's head here. I mean, he's got an arm over, but nothing major. And you see Koreshkov grabbing a hold of this single leg here to look to turn the corner. This is how Maia gets his dominant positions from crazy scrambles like this he capitalizes on. These are the positions where Maia has his success. Look how Koreshkov's trying to turn the corner here. And he can't do it. Because Askren's got his hands connected around Koreshkov's body. But Askren's on the bottom here, guys. He is on the bottom. He's sat on his butt. He is on the bottom. There's only 13 seconds left to go in the round, so it doesn't matter. But once Koreshkov slips his head out, he's in top position. So Jumper 408 has said, Askren is capable of reversing Maia at every small mistake. I feel like you have this one all wrong, bro. I will say this one, bro. I will say this one, bro. You tell me I have this all wrong. I am just showing... I'm just talking about what I'm seeing in front of me. In the footage that we have watched, we have seen... I mean, Askren's given his back up. You're telling me I'm wrong? Askren's given his back up again in this crazy funky scramble. So Jumper 408 is telling me I'm wrong. All I'm saying is we have repeatedly seen Askren put himself in bad positions. When have you ever seen Maia not capitalize on positions that his opponents have gifted him? Controlled Usman's back for that entire first round. Briefly got Covington down. Got Rocco down and controlled him from top position easily. When have you ever seen Maia reversed from mount? Or give up back control? When have you ever seen these things? So Jumper 408, I think you are wrong, dude. I think you are wrong. Because let me hit you with the truth stick, my man. Let me hit you with the truth stick. If Askren finds himself in this position against Demian Maia, guess what happens? He spends 5 minutes fighting for his life to defend rear naked chokes. He doesn't scramble into top position. He gets his back taken, dude. So that's why I think you're wrong, dude. You are wrong. And like I say, I don't ever think that this is about right or wrong. I don't ever say I even share my opinion. I don't think I'm giving my opinion to you now, boys. I don't think this is my opinion. I'm literally just stating facts, boys. This is what we are seeing, yeah? This isn't my opinion. I'm showing you the footage. I'm not coming and saying to you, oh, this, and Askren does this good, he does this bad, yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying these things. I'm fucking showing you. Again, what have we got here, boys? Askren making another mistake. Rolling to take Koreshkov's back. No hooks in. No hooks in. No hooks. Now he has a weak hook on the left side. What do you think is going to happen if he makes these mistakes against Maia? Bad things are going to happen to him, boys. Bad fucking things. And you know what's very interesting about this fight? What's interesting... Oh, you're a prick, mate. Askren showboating. You look like shit, dude. You look like shit. You are too high up on Koreshkov's back for a start. You don't have a deep hook in on the right side, and you're about to get shaken off. You are showboating. You are showboating, and you look like shit. And you're about to get shaken off. How about that? How about that? Yeah, you're showboating, you look like shit, and you're about to get shaken off. You're about to get shaken off. Any second. Any sec. Oh, Koreshkov didn't have the energy to complete. He might have. Koreshkov just didn't have the energy to complete shaking him off and was forced to go belly down. But most guys just shake him off in that position. Do you know what's interesting about this fight? This fight shows that Askren is very overrated. That's what this fight shows. He's going to get shaken off. Seconds away from getting shaken off. Koreshkov just didn't have the energy to shake him off. A fraction of a second away from being shaken off. And here, look, here. Askren only has one hook in. Can easily find himself on the bottom here if Koreshkov has the energy to turn into him on his left side. What the fuck? What the fuck? Red Flag City. Do I really have to bet a 41-year-old this weekend? I don't want to bet a 41-year-old, but what I am seeing is making it difficult to pass. I don't want to bet a 41-year-old, but Askren is going to get eaten alive if he is this complacent against Maia. He is going to get eaten alive. But I don't want to bet a 41-year-old. Ground Zero is set. So, Ground Zero, man. Ground Zero's brought up a really good point, right? And we got to go back to what I said at the beginning of the video. So Ground Zero has said that, do you think Maia will have the energy to finish it in the first? Yes, for sure he could finish it in the first. But I think what Ground Zero is referring to is, at the beginning of the video, I said that Maia's only effective for like 5, 6 or 7 minutes if he slows down. And then he slows down, right? But remember also what I said when I said Maia fights in bursts, right? So, for example, he'll commit everything to a takedown, and then if he doesn't get it, he'll retreat and conserve energy for his next takedown attempt, right? Well, I'm talking myself into this bet, boys. Maia might not actually gas out here because when the fight is standing, even when he's gassed out of his mind, he should still be able to outstrike Askren. And when it's on the ground, Askren makes so many mistakes that he should be able to gain a dominant position. So it's kind of like, under a normal, against a normal, high-level, athletic monster in his prime, like a Covington, like an Usman, like a Rocco Martin, like against a Woodley, Maia will gas out because they're pushing him and making him work hard in all areas, standing up in the clinch on the ground. But when this fight is standing, Maia will be in total control, so he can take breaks and recharge his batteries. So I'm very, 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 very much considering a bet on Maia here. Just because I think Askren's stand-up is so bad and Maia will be able to get those breaks. He's almost ended up on the bottom again. He's almost ended up on the bottom again. Look, look, look. No hooks in. Way too high up on his opponent's torso. And he's got a hold of the neck. So he manages to maintain position and just get a hook in as he hits the ground, advance the mount. It's nice. It's funky though. And you're going to get eaten alive against Maia with this bullshit technique. So, Kamikaze is saying, will Maia have to get takedowns, or will Askren give him one on his sloppy wrestling? I think Askren will give him to him, man. I do think Askren will give him to him. Tasmanian 187 has said that Ben is not being punished for his mistakes due to his opponent being tired. Isn't that going to be the same probable scenario we're going to have with Maia? Not so much, just because one of the reasons why his opponent is getting tired here is just because he's being overwhelmed, right? He's being flooded with attacks, constantly being forced to work, constantly being forced to defend himself. But if Maia just makes him pay for one mistake and gains a dominant position, you know, takes his back, gets into top position, he's not going to be forced to exert as much energy. You look at Koreshkov being forced to carry Maia's weight, getting beat up on. I don't see Maia in these positions. I really don't. I just don't. And I've seen a few people in the chat room, on my chat room on my website this week, saying that, you know, saying that Askren is a better wrestler than Usman, Covington and Woodley. Stop it. Stop it. I don't want to hear it. It's nonsense. Absolute fucking nonsense. Nowhere near their level. Nowhere near their level. IOL Chapper was saying once Maia finds he has success on the feet, he won't feel pressure to get the takedown. I agree, dude. I agree. D Smith 3427 has said that I bet Askren versus Lawler. I love the dude. Honestly, he's not much different from Khabib. D Smith 3427, stop it, dude. Stop it. Stop it, please. Stop it. Stop it. Mate, you need to be careful, bro. You need to be careful, right? Because I'm D Smith 3427. You just told me Ben Askren is similar to Khabib. Mate, you gotta watch out with these Russians, bro. These Russians tap the phones. If Putin hears you talking mad shit like that, saying Askren isn't that much different to Khabib, Putin will get you, bro. Putin will get you. What you said upsets me, and I'm not even Russian. You know what I mean? Stop it, dude. Are your eyes broken? If Khabib fought Askren, let me see if I can find a GIF, because that won't be copyright protected. If we could find a GIF. Robbie Lawler Askren slam. Can surely use a GIF. Is this a GIF? No. Is this a GIF? No. Oh, slam GIF. Let me show you. This, guys, what I'm about to play you is going to be a reenactment of the future Khabib versus Askren fight. The difference is the entire fight would look like this. That is basically what the Khabib Askren fight would look like. This is what you have to understand. Lawler picks Askren up like a child and throws him on the ground. What do you think Khabib would do to him? Have you ever seen anyone even come close to doing that to Khabib? So please, D Smith 3427, be careful, dude, talking mad shit, because these Russians don't play games. They don't play games, bro. They do not play games. You do not want Putin to come after you. Dick Turpin has said that Lawler punched Askren back to consciousness. That did tickle me a little bit. That is a good one, Dick Turpin. Oh no, boys. You're going to give me a headache. I'm going to have to go get some paracetamol. I am going to have to get some paracetamol. Because Harry Snotter 17 said Askren is better than Covington. Stop it. Stop it. Boys, please. Stop it. Askren is better than Covington, aka Red, is known for looking very unconventional, but his wrestling history speaks for itself. Dude, you know what also speaks for itself? An MMA record. And when we finally saw Askren face a step up in competition, he got death shotted in 2 seconds against Masvidal and picked up like a child and dumped on his head by Robbie Lawler. So yeah, I'm sure his MMA record does speak for itself. But an MMA record speaks a lot more. Please, dude, stop it. Askren is not better than Covington. Covington would literally ragdoll him and box his face off. It wouldn't be a contest. Harry Snotter is disputing what I've said. He has said that Askren beat Lawler in round 1. On paper, this is true, but he did suffer 12 concussions for his trouble. So not as clean a first round win as you make out. Oh, Harry Snotter using MMA math to debunk what I said. So he said Covington took 5 rounds to beat Lawler, whereas 5 rounds to beat Lawler, whereas Lawler obviously was beaten in 1 round by Askren. Good logic. Good logic. And I need to take some paracetamol after that, boys. Come on. Askren's not better than Khabib. He's not better than Covington. Usman would use him as a human basketball, and Woodley would punch a hole in his head. Please stop it. Right, boys. Anyway, we're not learning anything here a week because Koreshkov's tired. Very, very tired. Can't defend himself. The last fight that I want to watch is Ben Askren against Jay Heron from October 2011, 8 years ago, almost to the day. Split decision. Never watched this fight. Let's see what happens. 5-minute rounds. Really? This is fucking going to be painful. 5-minute rounds. Ugh. Right, boys. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't a glamorous job. People think being a professional gambler is just fucking chilling in casinos with like hot girls, drinking cocktails. No, bros. No. It's all about drinking mineral water at fucking 4 AM in the morning, watching a guy called Funky get sweaty and roll around on the floor with other sweaty guys while being given a headache by dudes that say outlandish things. Outlandish things. Let's get into it. Askren, Jay Heron, split decision. Be interested to see what happens here. Oh, just before we get into this, Definite Integral has sent us a cool little video. Let's have a look at this. He said that some footage of Jake Shields tapping Askren. What is this? So, interesting. So this video here, definite integral, is shared with us. So Askren's obviously on the top, Shields is on the bottom, and this is a position we saw Askren in the Alexakin fight and the Koreshkov fight, remember? And I said, you know, he's exposing his back to Maia here, which is a big mistake. And look at the difference. Look at the fucking difference. Look at the difference. The devil is in the motherfucking detail. Great share, definite integral. Great motherfucking share. The devil is in the detail. When I was saying Askren's made a huge mistake here, exposing his back to Koreshkov, what happens? Askren was able to scramble into top position. But when he faces a higher level grappler like Jake Shields, watch what happens. Jake Shields just flows with him and he can't get a dominant position. And again, Askren just getting into all these funky exchanges. He's going to end up on the bottom, man. This is the position that Maia loves. In on a single leg in a crazy scramble. What's Jake Shields able to do with this? Oh, actually, that was the video footage isn't very good. This is actually, is that? Oh, that's Askren in on a single leg. Sorry, boys, the quality is not great. So Askren's in on a single leg. Ends up on the bottom. Interesting. Definite integral, man. Dropping knowledge with this video share. How old is this? December 2018. I wonder when this is. When this is from. But again, you see Askren on the bottom here. It mounted underneath Shields. Hiltsy, man. I know. People try to give me a brain hemorrhage or something. Do you know what? If you actually do think that Askren's better than Khabib, fucking hell. It's a bit scary. It is a bit scary. Boys, I don't want to bet a 41-year-old, but this is why these live research videos are great, because Askren's making a very tough decision for me. You know, I opened up this video by saying there's no way I'm betting on a 41-year-old with bad cardio. Now I'm like, 41-year-old with bad cardio, not actually starting to look like that bad of a bet. Look again, look boys, what have we got here? What have we got here? 40 seconds into the fight with Jay Heron, Askren with his back fully exposed. I will say this, boys. His back was fully exposed there. Shout out to Demon Slay for the frameage. Can I get the exact frame? Back exposed. Maia only needs a fraction of a second to take the back. If we go back a bit further. Back exposed. Twice in 40 seconds. And we still have no idea what Askren's submission defense is like. Let's actually go... Oh, I can't use the frame thing on this. It's not actually YouTube, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, Askren's back fully exposed twice there. Dick Turpin dropping facts, saying this is a heart attack bet. Even if you win, your blood pressure will be sky high. I agree, dude. This is one of those bets where you either look like a genius or an idiot, right? Maia either dominates Askren or He gasses out after 5, 6, 7 minutes. Looks like total shit. And then you're like, why the hell did I ever bet a 41-year-old? But, boys, remember the 5th of November. Remember, boys, look at the odds. The odds currently on Askren, 2.50, Maia, 2.50 for an implied probability of 40%. Not a bad risk to reward ratio based on what we've seen. I will say this fight looks amazing for live betting. So Askren, earlier on in his career, this was back in 2011, much lighter on his feet here. Much more imposing, standing as he's coming forward. Still bad striking defense, but nowhere near as bad as he looked in one. Very nice deep double leg takedown entry there. We know he can't do that anymore. His very, very stiff, very rigid takedown entries, very high above his opponent's hips in one. In on a single leg here. Nice one, Geezer. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers, dude. I mean, it's a long video. Fuck me, it's like 2 hours long. I'm guessing this is really, really boring for most people. But this is fight research, man. Like, I've probably spent about 4 hours researching this fight now. You know, with this video being 2 hours long, the time I spent watching Maia's fights. It's no picnic, man. It is boring. But it's cool when I can do these live ones with you guys, because you pass the time better, man. Chatting to you guys makes like, to be fair, if I had to research this fight by myself, it would be fucking painful, boys. It would be painful. Like, it was painful watching Maia's past fights. But it's cool doing it together. I will slow. Problem is though, slow. Because it's a long video, it will take ages to upload to YouTube. Like, this is a 2 hour long video, so this is probably going to take like 3-4 hours to upload to YouTube. Because they take ages to process long videos. Oh, interesting. Harry Snotter, man. Harry Snotter is trying to test me. I like it though, because he has actually come up with a very good question here. Nice one, Harry Snotter, dude. So Harry Snotter 17 has said, do you take into account the psychology behind the fight? I do. It is, in fact, one of the most important aspects of my research. He has then gone on to say, Askren has been completely humbled in his last fight. He is not going to be going into this so cocky and careless. It depends which way you look at it, dude. It depends which way you look at it, right? Because on one hand, you could say Askren got embarrassed, humbled, humiliated in his last fight against Masvidal. He is now going to bounce back and look better than ever. He's going to be more motivated than ever before. This is going to be the best performance of his career. He's going to get back on the horse and look outstanding. That's one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is, for the first time in his career, he got his lights switched off. Absolutely death-shotted, murked in front of millions of people. For the rest of his life, he'll be a meme. Severely, severely, severely concussed after that. Massive head trauma. And the internet will never let him live it down. Every single time he posts on social media, a bunch of jabronis will remind him with gifs of the day he got absolutely murked after talking tons of shit. And can you imagine what that will do to the man's confidence? He has never tasted defeat in MMA before. He has never known what it has felt to have his lights shut off that badly before. Maybe he comes in this weekend super tentative, super passive, nowhere near as aggressive as usual because he's lacking in confidence. And every time he comes forward, he's going to be scared about being knocked out. Which means he can't just come out and apply relentless pressure and go after his opponent anymore, as he feels insecure. He doesn't want to be embarrassed again, so that puts him into a defensive shell. Think about that, dude. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can work both ways. The psychology is a massive part of my decision making. So please never think that it's not something that I'm always considering. But in this particular case of Ben Askren, it works both ways. You know what I would actually say? Generally speaking, it is kind of like I have certain rules that I stick to. So, for example, I won't bet on a guy that is significantly smaller than his opponent. I won't give up, I won't bet on a guy that's coming back after a long layoff. I won't bet on a guy that is making their UFC debut. And every once in a while I break these rules in exceptional circumstances. But another one of my rules is I won't bet on a guy that has suffered a devastating KO loss in his previous fight, because it takes a long time for the brain to heal, and more often than not it completely changes a fighter for the worse. They are sometimes never the same again. I mean, if we look at James Vick's record, right? James Vick's a very good example. If we look at James Vick, he was on an absolute tear in the UFC. He went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-1 in the UFC. 9-1, dude. 9-1. 9-1. Yeah? His only loss was against Beneil Dariush. Then he suffered an absolutely brutal KO at the hands of Justin Gaethje. And look what's happened since, bro. Look what's happened since. When a fighter suffers a very, very serious knockout, they are quite often never the same again. It has a massive negative impact on their performance. So you're saying that, Askren's likely to show up on Saturday night and be really motivated and look better than he ever has before? What if his confidence is so shot after getting humiliated in front of millions of people that he's just in a defensive shell and he's scared to come forward and attack? How do you know, bro? Because more often it goes the way of James Vick than it does they bounce back. Trust me, man. So that's just something for you guys to think about, you know what I mean? Harry Snott is following up saying, I think he has a massive, massive ego and he won't want to be embarrassed again. You think James Vick didn't want to get KO dead with an up kick from Nico Price? You think he didn't want to get death shotted by Dan Hooker? Come on, man. Be real. What you want and what is reality are two completely different things. Do you know what I mean? Two completely different things. I didn't want to lose my bet on Jeremy Stevens last weekend, but I lost it. You know what I'm saying? Fucking shit happens, dude. IOL Chapo with another really good point as well, saying Cody Garbrandt was mouthy like Askren, now haven't heard a peep for him after Dillashaw knocked him out. Jumper 408 has said that Maia doesn't pose that KO threat though. Fair to some extent. But at the same time, you've seen that fight against Alex Akin. His takedown defense his striking defense is non-existent, man. Maybe Demian Maia didn't have the power to KO any of these guys because they're elite strikers, Neil Magny, Ryan LaFleur, Gunnar Nelson, Matt Brown, Carlos Condit, Masvidal, Woodley, Covington, Usman, Good, Rocco Martin, Yakovlev, Roy McDonald, Jake Shields. All these guys notoriously tough. Maybe Maia didn't have the power to hurt them. But when Askren just blocks punches with his face, who the fuck knows, man? Who the fuck knows? I'm not saying it's likely, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying who knows, man. Askren literally has no striking defense at all. Boys, no, D Smith 3427, bro. I do love you, mate. I do love you. Let's not get into let's not be mean to each other, boys. D Smith 3427, I do love you, bro. I just worry because these Russians don't play games. Like, Putin might have your phone tapped. You go around saying crazy shit like Ben Askren's better than Khabib. Bad things are gonna happen to you, dude. You know what I mean? These Russians, they don't play games. They don't play games. You know, you've seen The Watchmen, dude? Dr. Manhattan? Russians are all about that. You know what I mean? With the radiation and shit. You can't play games with the Russians. So just don't be going around saying Askren's better than Khabib. That's all it is, dude. I just don't want to see you get hurt, mate. Let's not get into any beef in the chat. Jumper 408 is saying, I just can't envision him KOing Askren. Could be wrong, but it just doesn't basically see it happening. I agree, Jumper, mate. I don't think Maia will KO Askren either. I think it's very unlikely. Askren's tough as hell. He showed that in that Robbie Lawler fight. So I agree with you, dude. It is unlikely. Right, so again, loads of holes there from Askren in that first round against Jay Heron. Tons of holes. Exposed his back a few times. Ended up on the bottom on more than one occasion. Sorry, D Smith, mate. I misunderstood. You've got to be careful, though, dude. If I misunderstood, those Russians might misunderstand as well, dude. And, like, one day you'll wake up with, like, a third arm or something from some radiation poisoning. They just slip into your water, dude. Can't fuck with the Russians, mate. You got to be careful. True. Tasmanian 187, very true. He kind of did get KO'd by Lawler, and then Lawler woke him up with shots. Yeah, that's a good point, Tiny Danza. It is a good point. Saying that, you know, it's possible that Askren could get TKO from top position. You know, if Maia gets on top of him. Boys, gotta be honest with you. This is how I was feeling when I began this video. I was feeling like there's no way I'm betting Demian Maia. I'm very interested in betting Askren, though, because I feel like he can make Maia work. Maia won't be able to get dominant positions. He can beat him up in the clinch. This is how I was thinking. And I'm like, there's no way I'm betting on a 41-year-old with bad cardio against a strong wrestler like Ben Askren. Like, everyone wants to tell you Ben Askren's a strong wrestler. And to some extent he is. But red flag city. And I don't know how I've gone from considering a bet on a strong wrestler to considering a bet on a 41-year-old with bad cardio. But gotta bet Maia here, haven't you? You've gotta bet Maia. You've gotta bet Maia. I think you've gotta bet Maia. No, D Smith, the over definitely isn't a lock, dude. No. Because we haven't seen really any of Maia's submission, Askren's submission defense. You know, if Maia gets on his back, who knows how he'll react, man. Dick Turpin has said, that's interesting. So Dick Turpin has said, I was going to bet Maia, but now I'm going to walk away. Like Craig David, I'm walking away. Could be smart, dude. From the trouble in my life, I'm walking away. Could be smart. Dick Turpin's walking away. Although it's interesting, dude. I thought this video would make you more confident because of how many holes Askren is showing. Harry Snotter has said, it will be brave if you are going Maia. He's definitely the better bet out of the two, from what I've seen. I mean, definitely wouldn't be betting Askren now. I know I've changed my tune. At the beginning of the video, I was like, Maia's a terrible bet. Anyone that bets Maia is a fool. I said, there's no way you can bet on a 41-year-old with bad cardio. Terrible idea. Those are my words. And now, This is why fight research is so important, because now I'm like, well, Askren's a terrible bet. This is why fight research is so important, boys, because the footage doesn't lie. This is not my opinion. Like, I love it, guys. They always want to argue with me about how I see fights, and I'm not fucking ever giving you my opinion. I'm giving you facts, boys. I'm just sharing with you what the video footage shows. And like, the video footage shows Askren makes tons of mistakes on the ground that Maia can make him pay for. That is the reality of the situation. And also, I mean, Maia's got a huge striking advantage, and we know Maia does have the cardio to fight at a relatively decent pace for 25 minutes if the fight stays standing. He only gets tired if you drag him into these crazy grappling exchanges. Standing up, 25-minute cardio all day. Now, this fight ended up being a split decision. I think that Hiron got the first round. This is obviously Askren's round. He's dominating Hiron from top position. I'm interested to score this fight and how it ends up as a split decision, because it would suggest that the next 3 rounds are going to be competitive. But again, Askren almost got reversed there for top position. Didn't quite happen, but it was close. Tiny Danzer is saying that he thinks this is a pass. Could be right, dude. I mean, let's be real. Maia is 41. He does have bad cardio. His implied probability is only 40%. You'd want to be capping this as a 50-50 fight to gain any value. It's probably fair, though. 50-50 is probably fair. It's a lot of risk, but it's probably a fair... It's probably a fair probability to give this fight. Does, hand on heart, you are sat there watching this with me, boys. You've been watching a ton of footage now on Ben Askren. You've been watching Askren for 2 hours, boys. Hand on heart, do you think he deserves to be the favourite? Hand on heart. Because before I researched this, before I watched footage of Askren, I would have said yes. But now I'm like, no, he probably doesn't deserve to be the favourite. This is very close. This could go either way. Zapdos said, does Ben have a submission game? He kind of does, but he prefers ground and pound. I'd be amazed if he submitted Maia. Harry Snotter, man. Harry, dude. Harry, you are saying some mad shit tonight, bro. Harry, I want to like you, dude. Harry Snotter, I really want to like you. You are saying some mental things tonight, bro. Harry Snotter has said, this might not mean much, but I don't think they'd have made this fight if they thought Maia would win. They're grooming Askren for a huge fight. Stop it, dude. Stop it. Stop it. Were they grooming him when they threw him to the wolves in his first 2 fights against Lawler and Masvidal? Stop it, bro. They don't give a fuck about Askren or anyone else. Honestly, dude. Like, don't ever, like, factor that into your decision making. Honestly, dude. Mastered by Jazz has said Maia will not win a decision. I strongly disagree, dude. If Maia uses his grappling in reverse to keep this fight standing, he can easily outstrike Askren and just pour away at him for 25 minutes, no doubt about it. I mean, he outstruck Colby Covington in the first half of his fight, and Covington was obviously way more dangerous standing, made him work way harder standing. Askren can't do shit standing. He has nothing. No striking defense. Can't threaten Maia at all standing, so I disagree with you, dude. Maia can definitely win a decision. Kappa13 has got a 60-40 in favour of Maia. That is aggressive, dude. The reason why I can't get to 60-40 Maia is only really just to do with Maia's cardio. But one thing I will say, right? I will say this. Let's pause this right by here. I will say this. If we look at Demian Maia's last fight, it looked like he gassed out quite bad. after 2 rounds against Rocco Martin. But maybe he didn't. Martin put a ton of pressure on him in that 3rd round, was like stalking him, headhunting basically. And obviously Maia's not the best striker, doesn't have the best striking defense either. He's fucking light years ahead of Askren, but certainly not a very comfortable striker, particularly when he starts to get a little bit tired. So maybe Maia wasn't that tired in this fight. Maybe he was just struggling with Martin's pressure. I need to go back and watch this fight. I need to go back and watch that one to determine how tired Maia was, or if he was just struggling under Martin's pressure. Martin was putting tons of pressure on him. Ground Zero is saying, make your bet at the weigh-ins, whoever looks to be in better shape. I don't like that strategy, Ground Zero, only because Askren always rocks the dad bod, he always looks like shit, and Maia always looks pretty standard as well, so I don't think the weigh-ins are going to tell us much, dude. Maia in on a very nice body lock takedown there, straight into Heron's guard. He's getting outstruck up until this point. What do you reckon, boys? There's loads of people in the live chat. It's got 66 people watching. Everyone in the live chat, let me know how you're capping this fight. Let me know, boys. I want to know. What's the consensus? We've all been watching tons of footage on Askren. I spoke for loads, like for half an hour on Maia at the beginning of the stream. What do you reckon, boys? Where are you capping this? Park 377's got a 50-50. Fair, dude. I'm agreeing with you, man. Hiltzy's got a 50-50. I agree with you, dude. I agree. Geezer in it has got a 55% in favour of Maia. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Askren's on the bottom again briefly. Schlo22's got a 55-45 in favour of Askren. Demon Slay has got it 50-50. Dradnail17 is saying value in Maia, but you won't be comfortable. Yeah, mate. It feels... Do you know what? It feels a lot like the Kurt McGee bet from last week. Like, there was value in McGee, there's no doubt about it, but you know for a fact it ain't gonna be pretty. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be comfortable. It's gonna be ugly as fuck. 100% it's gonna be ugly. Zapdos 51-49 towards Maia. Turning Screws are saying 55% Maia. Hiltzy is saying the gas tank's the issue for sure, man. It is my biggest concern, but it's the thing about Maia fighting in bursts and Askren not being able to pressure him standing, which makes me think the gas tank might not be as big of a factor here as I first thought. Ground Zero saying can't make a decision until weigh-ins. I honestly don't think we'll see anything at the weigh-ins to really change anything, dude. Dick Turpin, Maia 55%. Jumper 408 is saying 55-45 in favour of Askren. You know what? That is interesting. So 13 Kappa's saying 60-40 in favour of Maia. Tasmanian 187's calling it 50-50. Mastered by Jazz has got a 60-40 in favour of Askren. So far, Mastered by Jazz is the only guy that thinks the odds are accurate. Everyone else is seeing value in Maia, because what I see is I see two people have got Askren like 55-45. One person, Mastered by Jazz, has got a 60-40 in favour of Askren. What's interesting is tons of people have shared how you cap this fight based on what we've seen tonight, right? And what's interesting is only Mastered by Jazz thinks these odds are accurate. Even if you go and give Askren a 55% chance of winning at his current odds, sorry, even if you do give Askren a 55% chance of winning, which would mean you would have to give Maia a 45% chance of winning, at his current odds of 2.50, which is plus 150, you're still getting a 5% margin, even if it is 55-45 in favour of Askren. So even people that are favouring Askren in this fight are giving value to Maia at the current odds, and I find that very interesting, especially if you can get Maia at these sort of odds. 2.65, which squeezes an extra little bit of value out. 2.65 plus 165, which is a 38% implied probability. So that's pretty damn interesting. Sly Flyer 625 has got a 55% in favour of Maia. Nitmac 8008 is saying Askren's way overrated. I agree, dude. I agree. Penal Erecto has got a 60-40 Maia. Park 377 is saying there's value on Maia, but not a strong position. Interesting, dude. Because a strong position doesn't mean that your money is, a strong position doesn't mean that your bet has got a high probability of winning, like the Adesanya versus Whittaker bet. A strong position just means you've got a good margin over the bookie, right? So, like, there was loads more risk with the Cub Swanson Cron Gracie bet, but we still had a decent margin. Like, if you could get Maia at an implied probability of 40%, and you cap the fight at 50-50, yes, there's tons of risk there. There's a significant chance that bet loses, but it's still a strong position because you're getting a 10% margin over the bookie. So whether the bet wins or loses is irrelevant. It's still a strong position. That's how I see things anyway. I lost money on Kurt McGee last week. I bet him at like 2.80 for an implied probability of 36%. Because I felt, based on Brady's past fights, it was a 50-50 fight. Like, Brady looked like total shit outside of the UFC. As it happens, he looked amazing on Saturday night. That's why they call it gambling, right? But I knew, capping the fight at 50-50, there was a significant chance Kurt McGee would lose against a young, hungry, up-and-coming bull. But just because he lost, it was still a strong position. Because, if you cap it accurately at 50-50, it's like a 14% margin over the bookie. I mean, even if it turned out to be a 60-40 fight, you're getting a 4% margin over the bookie, which isn't great, but it is still a margin. See what I mean? So that's where I look at these things anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how my brain works. Dick Turpin's saying that this is going to be a stressful bet. I agree, dude. Zapdos has said, have you researched any other fights? Yeah, I've researched about half the cards so far, dude. Haven't found any bets yet, and I certainly didn't think I would be considering Maia, but fucking hell, it's getting difficult. It's getting difficult to pass. Dick Turpin is saying, have the odds moved? Let's take a look, dude. No, not really, dude. Not really. Psyfix has said, you cap this Maia at 50%. Wouldn't that be a clear bet if the probability is 40%? Why is this different compared to another fight? It's not, dude. We're just thrashing it out. You know what I mean? We're just brainstorming. It's absolutely nothing different, dude. We're just trying to think through everything. Geezer in it. You know what? I always say, right? I do these really long, and for most people probably boring videos. And every once in a while, someone comes out and they just fucking drop a sentence in the live chat on Twitch that just basically summarizes everything I'm trying to say in this really long-winded way, because I'm really terrible at getting my thoughts out in a concise way. And Geezer in it has just said, Askren can't stand with Maia, which is true. It has to go to the ground for Askren to win, which is true. This is dangerous because he gives up positions. This is true. So Geezer in it has just basically made it impossible for me not to bet at Maia. I can't argue with you, bro. You fucking nailed it. I literally can't argue with anything Geezer in it has said. He has said, Askren can't stand with Maia. This is true. No one can argue this. It has to go to the ground for Askren to win. This is true. No one can argue this. This is dangerous as he gives up positions. This is true. No one can argue this. I think Geezer in it has just helped me make my mind up, man. D Smith 3427 has said, looking at this breakdown video, Askren's striking's horrific. It's worse than Chrome's. I still have him over 50% chance of winning. What percentage though do you give him, D Smith? Let me know, dude. Is it 60? Is it 70? Because if it's 60, the odds are accurate. If it's 55, there's still value on Maia. Demon Slay 677 saying his value at 50-50 seems attractive. Tiny Danzer is saying I have it at 55-45 in favour of Askren at best. Not entirely sure that's where I land yet. Yeah, that's true, man. The week is still young. Do you know what I mean? Like, we haven't got fight interviews yet. Fight week interviews. Like, the smart thing to do might be to wait until fight week interviews come out, see what Maia's saying. You know, if Maia says, you know, he's thinking about retirement, all this kind of stuff, might not be smart to bet Maia. So that's a really good point from Tiny Danzer. No real need to jump in yet. Dick Turpin is saying that Johnson is the worst bet on the card marginally. Is that Michael Johnson against Stevie Ray? I'm not sure, man. I haven't researched that fight yet. Master by Jazz is saying, I just think Maia needs the back or he'll struggle with the cardio advantage. 5 rounds is a long time. You are right, Master by Jazz. Problem is, we have seen Askren give his back up multiple times in these fights. So there's a good chance that Maia does get that back. Dirty Sancho 83 saying Maia against wrestlers not good. True, dude, but that is oversimplifying things because Askren's not at the same level as Woodley, Covington and Usman. He cannot do the same things that they can. He can't win the fight standing. He can't put Maia into a defensive shell with his striking. So, to some degree, Maia against wrestlers, I agree with you, he struggled. But to another degree, they didn't just use wrestling to beat him. Covington picked him apart standing. Woodley used his wrestling defensively to play the role of Matador and pick Maia off as he came forward. Usman pressured him and beat him up standing. None of these guys got into a grappling match. Haven't seen anyone win a grappling match against Maia. And it appears that Askren's only way to win this fight is a grappling match. Because standing up, he's fucking toast. Zapdos has said, how likely do you think it will be that Maia can get Askren's back? If he fights like he did against Alex Sakin, Thani and Heron, there's a very, very high probability that that Maia will take his back. But if he shows Maia a lot of respect and fights smart, who knows, man? But he has given his back up multiple times in these fights. So it's quite a high probability, man. Quite high. Oh, nice one, Dick Turpin, mate. Cheers, dude. Penal Erectos, ready to bet the house on Maia. Nice one, Definite Integral. Cheers, dude. So Tiny Danzer said, I think the fact that Askren was the Maia simulator for Woodley's training camp is interesting. He's functionally been on both sides of the match, been 2 separate training camps. Yeah, that's definitely a little scary, dude. That is definitely a little scary. Remember what we said earlier on in the video? A big part of Woodley beating Askren was him, a big part of Woodley beating Maia was him crediting the work that Askren helped him do to prepare for the fight. You know, Woodley really said Askren was a big part of the training camp, so that is a little bit scary. But then, you know what I mean? Like, coaches are different, right? So, like, for example, Faraz Sahabi has produced some of the best MMA fighters in the world of all time. But put him in the cage, he probably looks like shit. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, Jose Mourinho is one of the greatest football managers of all time. But put him on a football pitch, he's probably totally shit. Bill Belichick is one of the greatest, you know, American football coaches ever. But, you know what I mean? Put him in the quarterback position, never going to complete a pass in the NFL. So just because Askren was an integral part to breaking Maia down and helping Woodley prepare for him doesn't necessarily mean he'll be able to execute that himself if he doesn't necessarily have the skills to do it, because Woodley had the range of skills to execute the game plan. Askren might not. Good night, Tasmanian 187. Take care, dude. D Smith 3427 is saying that Askren doesn't have any more than a 55% chance of winning here. So that's interesting. You know, D Smith, out of everyone in the live chat, has been one of the guys who's who's a little bit more higher up maybe on Askren than a lot of other people. And he wouldn't cap Askren at any more than 55%, which is super interesting, because that would give us, you know, if D Smith 3427 is correct, and he very well might be, 55% looks like a decent probability to me. That would still give you a 5% margin on Maia if you're betting him at 2.50 plus 150. Kamai's Ukin is saying that you got Askren at minus 138. What are those odds? Minus 138. Whoops. Minus 138. Which is 1.72. And he caps him at minus 200. Which would give him an implied probability of 67%. That is aggressive. That is aggressive. Like a wild chapo saying the footage doesn't lie. It's true, man. It is true. WDE98 has said, which way do you think the lines are going to swing before the fight? I wasn't sure, dude, but I think once I upload this video to YouTube and like 4,000 people watch it, I think there's a bloody good chance money's going to come in on Demian Maia and his odds are going to decline. Like I say, my community, you guys watching on YouTube, Twitch, we do move the odds, you know what I mean? So unlikely Askren's odds decline much further than here. Maia's odds will probably decline. Mastered by Jazz saying, I'm loving this back and forth, it's sharpening our research skills. You know what, dude? I am loving it as well, because it is quite fucking boring to sit in my pants all day and watch fights by myself. It's really boring, so it's properly cool that we could all do it together, man. I really appreciate it, dude. Like, yeah, Mastered by Jazz, dude, thanks a lot, mate. This is way more fun for me than just sat doing it by myself. I just fucking wish, like, I literally, if I could, I would literally sit here and I would do this with every single fight. But unfortunately, because all the fucking footage is copyrighted on UFC Fight Pass, I can't. I would love to do this for every fight, just like thrash the research out with you boys and like discuss it and stuff, but just can't. We can only do it for fights where this footage is available. It's a bit of a nightmare. Dick Turpin saying Johnson's at 1.33 right now, which I think is about minus 300 for an implied probability of 75%. Dirty Sancho 83. ESPN needs to hire your ass. Thanks a lot, dude. Really appreciate it, mate. D Smith 3427 saying if Maia takes his back, Askren will just hold his hands and stand up or force a scramble. Yeah, or he could, you know, or he could end up being controlled for a long period of time, like Usman, like Gunnar Nelson, like Masvidal. Kamikaze82 is saying this has to be 50-50. Askren will wrestle and do these bad funky tricks and get put in bad positions. It's kind of how I'm seeing it, dude. So Dick Turpin's saying that a parlay of Rory and Maia has a payout of 5.63, which is plus 463. Don't do it, dude. Why would you want to put him in a parlay? Look, at the end of the day, Maia and Rory are going to be two high-risk bets. Like, you'd be lucky to win one of those bets. If you bet, you know, $10 on Rory, $10 on Maia, because they're both underdogs, if either of them would win, you would end up with a profit. You know, if you went 1-1, you know, say like Maia won, Rory lost, or Rory won, Maia lost, you'd end up with a profit. So why put them in a parlay? Because if you put them in a parlay and one of them, you go 1-1, you just lose all your money. Like, why not just bet singles? I don't get it, dude. I don't get it. Don't do that. Dick Turpin, man. Don't give the bookies your money, dude. Do not bet the parlay, dude. Bet them single and separate. Schlo22 has said, what are the odds on a Maia parlay? That could be a cool prop. That could be a cool prop. Especially because he might get a finish with ground and pound. Let us take a look. Oh, it's not out yet. That is an interesting one. But boys, I think that's going to be it for the video. Should we summarize? Shall we summarize? So, I tell you one thing right now. I will tell you one thing right now. I don't like making rash decisions. I don't. And I know that there's a fuckload of risk on Demian Maia. I know there's a fuckload of risk. I capped this fight at 50-50 based on what we've seen tonight. But I don't like betting on 41-year-olds. I said it at the beginning of the video. I said at the beginning of this video, there is no way I'm betting on Demian Maia. I said I'm not betting on a 41-year-old. And now I want to bet on a 41-year-old. But because of that initial doubt, that initial instinct, I can't just jump in and bet Maia and tell you all I think Maia's a great bet. I'm not going to do that because I don't like to make rash decisions, especially when I'm live, right? Especially when I'm like talking on a stream to you boys and I'm to think on the spot. I just want a quiet half an hour to sit by myself, go back and watch the Rocco fight to see if he was really tired after round 2 or if he was just struggling with the pressure because Askren can't pressure him because he has no stand-up. And then I'll make a decision for myself, for my members. But hopefully this video has helped you make your own mind up. And at the very least, we've gone from completely not considering a bet on Maia and weighing up a bet on Askren to actually having a real decision to make here. Because the implied probability on Maia at 40% seems off. And what is pretty interesting about that is that the odds have moved a bit, possibly by the public. So Maia's opening odds were 2.20 plus 120 for an implied probability of 45%. Maybe the bookies capped this one accurately. And maybe the casual betting public moved it into a territory where we now have value. Right, boys, that is gonna be it for this video. I've got some thinking to do. I don't know if I'm gonna bet Maia, but I've got some thinking to do. I've definitely got some thinking to do. I feel there's value there. How much, I'm not sure, but I don't love betting on 41-year-old fighters. So I'm going to go back and have another little look at Maia before I make my mind up. But it's an interesting fight. What I would say is that I'm definitely not going to criticise anyone for betting Maia. After doing this research, it's potentially a decent bet, you know what I mean? And remember, boys, good bets don't always win, bad bets don't always lose. If Askren comes out, wet blankets him, gets Maia tired in 5 minutes and grinds out a decision, it doesn't change what we've seen together tonight in this live stream, right? It doesn't change anything. We still know that there's probably a bit of value on Maia here, but I'm going to go watch a few of Maia's fights for a second time. I often do this. This is not anything new. You know, before I ever decide on a bet, I'll always cross the T's and dot the I's by going back, watching a couple of fights for a second time through a different lens, just to be absolutely sure I'm making the right decision. I do this on every fight, which is why sometimes I might come across as a little bit stubborn and a bit ignorant when I lose a bet and people say, oh, you know, you were wrong, blah, 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 and then I'll argue back and say, no, I was right because of this, this, and this. One of the reasons why I am so stubborn over bets is because I do make sure I properly cross the T's, dot the I's, do the due diligence before locking it in. So I'm not going to make a decision on this stream. I'm going to go back, watch a couple more Maia's fights while Askren's fresh in my head, and I'll make a decision in the next few hours. But thanks a lot for watching, boys. Every single one of you is an absolute fucking legend. I hope, I hope D. Smith, the Russians, don't get you. You seem like a good dude. But take care, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. If you're watching on YouTube and you have watched this whole thing and you are not bored yet, fucking hell, man. I salute you and thanks for watching, because I understand that I ramble a bit and I struggle to get my points across, but big up to you if you're still watching. Hit the like button if you appreciate this video. Thank you very much, and subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know how many videos I'm going to be able to put out this week because, like I say, Bellator are ruining my life. And I still have tons of fights still to research. But I will try and do at least 1 or 2 more live streams and videos this week. Take care, guys. Love you all. And I will speak to you all very, very soon. Take care, everyone.